right, now that we're ready for the small wiring, I've got a whole bunch of spools of wire that I just ordered, which is super nice. I got all these different colors. It's like 100-foot rolls. So I should be good to go because it's all 18 gauge. Most of the stuff I'm gonna need is 18 gauge. I do have some 14 and some other things if I need some heavier gauge wire, but most of the car is gonna be on this. So let's get to it. Okay, so I got that ground there, and obviously I got my main power cable coming in here, and I need to figure out how I'm gonna run all the wiring through the dash to that PDM. So what I had going is I had that hole drilled so I could get that main cable through there, but the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna cut that whole section out. That way I can have all the wiring attached to the module and be able to slide it straight out the back and not have to disconnect all the wiring if I ever have to pull the dash or do any of that stuff. Plus, since that cover for the gauge or whatever that's sitting there on that chair, since it covers up the whole situation anyway, like you'll never see it, it doesn't matter, and it's gonna make my life so much easier because it'll be open right here so I can run wiring to wherever I need to. So I'm just gonna cut this out and move on. So I got that first ground wire ran. I'm gonna go through and label all of them just in case I have to disconnect this. I know exactly where they go. Plus it'll be a nicer, cleaner setup. I did start messing with the ignition switch down here. I took all the additional wiring off there that I don't need because realistically all I need is for like the wipers and turn signals, that kind of stuff, because I don't really need the key anymore because I'm going to be doing a push button start. So basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to actually have to cut this key in half, essentially so that it will not lock the steering column, because right now it has a steering column lock, so it locks. As soon as you pull the key out, it's locked. But basically I'm going to end up having to cut the key off, and then this will just essentially stay in there all the time. You'll never see it because it'll all be covered up, but it's a necessary evil. So I'm going to get to cutting this off of there, shove that in there so it's unlocked, and that'll be done. Okay, so we're on to another day. I was kind of racking my brain the other day. I was having a lot of problems trying to figure out where I was going to put everything. Basically, I figured out I couldn't really do anything until I got another relay box. I couldn't really do anything until I got, I needed a big fuse holder for the, that Easy Guard, that push to start thing, because I realized that it needs to have some sort of fuse, but it's got to be a pretty high amperage fuse that I can't run through that module that I already have, that power distribution module, because it needs to be, like 40, 50 amps, something like that, and that one can't handle that. As a standalone. It can through the whole system, but not as like one leg. So I ordered some stuff for that. I also realized that in order to do all that, I need to have another battery connection from somewhere. And originally I was thinking about going off of that kill switch that I put in there, but then I realized it's not going to look as clean because I'm going to have so many wires coming between the firewall and everything. So what I ended up doing is I ordered some more parts. So I got one of these pass-throughs for this battery connection. So I just need to basically drill a hole in the firewall, and then I can have my battery cable coming in, and then I can have as many connections as I want on the back side. You won't be able to see it, so it'll clean it all up. So I just need to figure out where I'm going to put this, drill a hole, then I can start running, changing these cables out. I did realize that after doing some more research, I think what I'm going to end up having to do is probably replace all these battery cables again, because right now I've only got 4-gauge cable in here, and the more I started looking into everything, I started realizing that it's not going to support what I need to do. So I think I'm going to have to order some like 0.8 gauge, but that'll be in the future. For right now, it'll work because it'll at least help me get some of these systems working, so I can still test power or whatever. But first things first, let's drill a hole, get this thing in there, and redo this again. So I just found something interesting, guys. I was working on the cables, and I was going to redo the one that came from the battery kill switch and went to the firewall. I had 6-gauge. I had this 6-gauge Scosche cable that I had laying around. And I was like, you know what? I've got some 4-gauge, a little bit of 4-gauge left over. I was like, I think that's enough to go for the firewall. And I was like, you know what? 4-gauge would be adequate to go from there to the firewall for that system. So I started using this leftover 4-gauge I had, and I was going to make another cable. And when I was putting the ends on it, I was like, man, these things, they don't fill up the terminal very well. And I noticed that I had to crimp them a little bit more. And I was like, it doesn't seem like there's as much cable there. Well, It's gonna be really hard for you guys to tell, but if you look here, the black is supposedly 4 gauge and the red is 6 gauge. The inside of that cable is exactly the same. The only difference is the insulation. This just has thicker insulation, which tells me this is not actually 4 gauge. This is like some bullshit that's labeled as 4 gauge. It's just some cheap crap. So then I got thinking, I was like, you know what? Not only is this not the right size, but this is the cable that I ran from the front all the way to the back for the starter. Not only, you know, I already said that I think I need to go to 0 gauge because I was like, oh, you know, 4 gauge probably isn't enough. Well, now it's like, it looks like it's actually 6 gauge, which means that's way too small. So 100%, I definitely need to order some good cable. And that's, yeah, a note to you guys. Be careful where you buy your cable because apparently some of this cheaper cable is just straight up garbage. It's not what it's labeled as. So yeah, I'm just gonna reuse the 6 gauge cable for now, and just wait until I get my 0 gauge and redo everything again. Okay, so I got that just kind of installed there. I ran one of those cables there, and then I got this other cable going here. So that's all situated. And good news, guys, my Deutsch connector kit showed up. So now I can do all the things. Plus I got my, I needed like an inline fuse terminal for the main power going to that push to start module. So now I can run that power. And then I've also, all those Deutsch connectors, I wanted to use those for like the turn signals because I decided, I was like, well, you know, I can do these while I wait. And this kind of turned into a whole thing because I realized that even though this main harness that like comes off of here, I thought it went to like all the turn signals and stuff, and these they were all together. Basically it just runs from right here inside this module and just runs over to here and plugs in. And I was like that can't be significant, but it turns out that this is actually CAN bus. So it is significant because in order to use this without CAN bus, I have to splice into all these wires. So that's one of the reasons I need a Deutsch connector, because I need to run all these to a Deutsch connector, then I can have a clip to unplug it, and then I'm going to run all those to, you know, wherever it needs to go. So now I can get to work. All right, got my fuse holder wired in for the main 12-volt power going into the module. Once I figure out where I want these, I'll figure out what to mount this to, but it's pretty much all going to be right in this area. At least I got the main 12-volt power figured out now, so now I can move on to the next part, which I don't have my relay module for all that stuff yet, but I do have those Deutsch connectors, so I might start working on this stuff, see if I can start wiring in turn signal, headlights, that kind of stuff into this situation. Man, you guys, if I can see you, it's kind of hard to see through this roll bar, but it's kind of what I have to do. I've already started putting some of these pins onto this connector here. You can see I got like the little rubber thing in there, and I got my heat shrink and whatnot ready, but you got to see this, these little tiny little terminals, you just slide them onto this wiring, if I can get this thing on here, and it is so easy to do. These little crimpers, they're like a 360 crimp. It might be hard to see, but like right there in the center, you can see it crimps down. It literally just slides over the top of this thing like that. It bottoms out, so you can't push any further. Crimp it, pulls right out. Look at that. That's nice. I like that. And then, check this out. These things go in there so freaking easy. They literally just slide in and click. So nice. They just like, look at that. All the way up to the top like that. And then, this little guy just goes on top to cover it up. So nice. Then we got this nice little rubber dude to seal it up. Pushes right on in there. And this little guy caps it off once I get it squared away. Look at that. Perfect. And just like that, it's all heat shrinked and looking super legit. Awesome. Okay, I know this looks a little crazy right now because I kind of got stuff just absolutely everywhere right now, but I got all the turn signal and headlights wired into the module, or at least as far as the switch goes Like I talked about before, I had to tie it into that connector that goes across here, and then I loomed it. Got my connectors that I showed you guys, real nice. It's all loomed up. Everything's ran in here. The only things that I don't have right now, I don't have hazards wired in because I don't have a hazard switch. I do have this extra wire, which it turns out this thing, well, it originally had daytime running lights for this setup. This is actually for like headlights off, but I don't think I'm gonna end up needing it. I thought I was going to, but I don't. So I'm probably gonna end up cutting this off, taping it back, whatever I'm gonna do. But I'm really happy about this. This is coming together really nice. Obviously there's a lot of zip tying, taping, you know, I gotta, you know, bolt these things down, all that kind of stuff. So it's looking nice. It'll be better. It'll be even better than it was, you know, at this point. But, yeah, I'm still waiting on, you know, a lot of other things before I can keep going. Obviously you know, I need to run all the wiring to the headlights and stuff, you know, for all my outputs, but I don't even have them installed yet. So that'll be another day situation. But for the moment, I'm in a good spot. So looking at this wiring for basically it's all for the wiper switch. I was trying to figure out where all these go. The black wire goes to ground for sure. The high one goes to, it looks like green with a white stripe. And the other ones, so the problem is that it's CAN bus. This is also CAN bus, just like this was. And I'm not entirely sure if I'm gonna be able to get all of the functions to work, because essentially the way it's wired is if I have it in low or high, it's sending signal to the low and the high on the motor. So I'm assuming that that must be for high speed, I think. And the other ones don't have continuity at all. So what I'm thinking at the moment is there is a possibility I might end up with just wiring up the one switch for the wiper motor over there, so it basically just has one speed, which isn't ideal, but at least they would work. I don't know. I'll have to look into it deeper and see if I can figure something out. I may have to take this switch completely apart and see if I can get into the internal circuits and see if maybe I can modify them. I don't know. I was also looking into the clock spring wiring, which there was a whole bunch of wires. I actually ended up taking them all out, the ones that I didn't need, because essentially it had wires coming in here for like audio and for cruise control, stuff like that for the buttons on the steering wheel. The only ones that are really going through that are even remotely needed is there's one that is the horn. It was supposed to go to the horn, and the other one is ground, which I'm assuming I can probably use as like the horn ground circuit. The problem that I have is when I put this on, the connector was contacting the back of this, so it wouldn't fit correctly. So I ended up taking it off, and I don't know where I put it in this garage. I've looked everywhere, and I might have thrown it away. So I may have to go get another one from the junkyard and see if I can modify it. Because originally I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna run the horn. I was like, fuck it, we'll throw this out. But now I'm like, you know what? No, we need a horn, so I'm gonna get that connector, then I'll figure out where these wires go. So the other thing I did is I mounted the push button switch here on this column cover. Obviously I have the top off because I need to get the wiring, but this is actually mounted in there now, which is nice. It basically has like this, there's like a metal, I don't know, like a kind of like a star shaped thing, and it bolts to the backside, which is really, really difficult because the screws are so tiny. It was lucky that I have like an eyeglasses kit because it's literally that small. But this thing's in there solid now, we're good. I ran the wiring up to this unit. Obviously it's just temporary. There's a lot of extra slack here, but that is at least situated and kind of figured out. I still need to put in, you know, some of the antennas and stuff so I can actually get this thing to sync up, and hopefully we'll start working. I might actually test, maybe I'll see if I can find a bulb or something around here that I can hook up to this, and maybe see if I can get these circuits to turn on, see if the key will, you know, recognize itself or whatever. I don't know, we'll see. So one thing I noticed while I was sitting here that is gonna drive me crazy is that the push button start switch is a little bit crooked. I actually lined it up with I was trying to line it up with the bottom of it, thinking that would be straight. Didn't account for the fact that the column sits at an angle. So yeah, I'm gonna take that cover back off and straighten that up because it's gonna drive me nuts. Fixed. Okay, I think I'm at that point. I'm ready to turn the power on to see if things light up. In theory, I think this should light up as soon as I hook that up. Maybe? We'll see in a second. Maybe I have to click it. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, I did a thing. Oh, look at that. I hit unlock and then it did that. So if I hit lock, that's where it shuts off. That's cool. Okay. So now we're unlocked. Good deal. So then, oh, okay, I heard it click. All right. It's hard to tell whether I'm in accessory or where I'm at, but I should be able to check power on this unit because I should have power on these. Let's see, this one. No. That one's ignition positive. Oh, I don't have a fuse in that one. That's why. How about this? So we got, there's no fuse in that one right now, but I do have power on these, this side of these. So then we should have power on, let's see, blink. How about this one? I don't know yet. I don't know. We're missing something, but we have power. Things are turning on. That's good. That's good, guys. Okay, I got a fuse in it now. Let's see what we can get to happen now. So in theory, we should have power here with, okay, that's key on. Oh, the turn signal's on. Okay, so that is it this one? Look at that. I don't know which one's. Yeah! Now we're in business, guys. We're doing things. Hell yeah. Okay, let's check one more thing. A couple more things, actually, because I checked this key fob, I didn't check this one. So let's see if this one works. This one works. Cool. So now I need to check the high beams and the low beams and see if those work, because I haven't checked those yet. So we should be. Okay, so that's key on. So let's check. Let's see, low beam and high beam. I got a mess in here, guys. It's bad. Let's see, so low beam should be this one. Cool. And it's off in park. That's good. And then we got, okay, this one should be high beam. High beam. We also got flash to pass. That's working. Okay, so this one should be park. Yep. Cool. Hell yeah, guys. We're fucking making progress now. All right, guys. I think it's gonna be it on this one. I'm pretty excited. I got a lot done on this. Like, it was a lot of time spent like trying to figure out where like the circuits go and all this kind of different stuff, especially with the CAN bus system. Is really been throwing me for a loop. It's like that turn signal switch situation. I was kind of worried it wasn't going to work, but the turn signal switch and the headlights work perfectly fine. The wiper switch, on the other hand, I'm gonna have to do some more research and messing around with that. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, obviously the wipers, that's like, doesn't even matter. I do have the motor in there, but I mean, that's a way down the road thing. We don't care about that too much. I just mostly wanted to get the wiring done so it was just kind of situated so I don't have to worry about it, but it's turned into a whole thing. I've got a whole bunch of parts coming that should be here this week. So next week, I'm planning on doing a whole bunch next weekend. Because like I said, I had to order that whole battery cable situation. So I'm going to replace all the battery cable again, is the plan. Plus I've got that relay module is supposed to be here tomorrow. So we're going to start wiring up relays and getting all of that wiring done. And maybe we'll get to the point where we can start it. I don't know. That's kind of a lofty goal because there's still a lot of variables and stuff. But the fact that this main power distribution module is working fine, all those turn signals and everything is working great, that's a big win right there. Because now I know that at least the push to start works, and I was kind of worried about it because it's kind of a cheaper system. It has really good reviews, but I was kind of worried that it wasn't going to work. But it seems to work great. Like, honestly, I was not expecting it just turned on. I thought I was going to have to screw with some stuff, but it turned on. It works. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm stoked, guys. we're making big progress. It feels good. We're actually getting things done. I know this is like, for me, this is the easier stuff because electrical is like my wheelhouse. I really like doing electrical. I know a lot of people don't, but I'm a big fan because it's instant gratification. You wire something up, it just works. Whereas like, if I'm like attaching a door to like this car, it's like, I spent hours and hours and hours on it. It might not work because this car's designed not very good from the factory, but we'll get there. We'll get to that point. Obviously, there's a lot of body work that needs to be done, so one of these days we'll get to that point. But for right now, we're gonna focus on wiring and see what we can make it run. But until next time, like, subscribe, peace out.